Welcome to the Kiwa Initiative, Nature-Based Solutions for Climate Resilience. The Kiwa Initiative is a multi-donor program that aims to strengthen the climate resilience of Pacific Island ecosystems, communities, and economies through nature-based solutions. This presentation was developed for the Kiwa Initiative's community of practice that is supporting practitioners better integrate gender equity, disability, and social inclusion into nature-based solutions. This presentation teaches practitioners how to conduct a gender equity, disability, and social inclusion, or GEDSI, analysis. There is an accompanying toolkit that is available on the Kiwa Initiative and SPREP's websites. So let's begin. By the end of this presentation, you should have a good understanding of what is a GEDSI analysis, when to do a GEDSI analysis, how to conduct a GEDSI analysis, and then what do you do with the results that you get. First, it's important to understand the difference between sex and gender. Sex refers to biological characteristics of being male or female. For example, this includes our reproductive organs, hormones, chromosomes. These are all characteristics associated with sex. On the other hand, gender refers to characteristics of women, men, boys, and girls that are socially constructed. And society associates certain roles, responsibilities, entitlements, and behaviors with those identities, and also has expectations for them. So why is GEDSI important in nature-based solutions? Well, environment and social issues cannot be separated. A thriving, healthy planet cannot be one that contains widespread human suffering or restricts human potential. And humanity cannot exist on a dying planet. So GEDSI, or Gender Equity, Disability and Social Inclusion, focuses on efforts to ensure that people disadvantaged on the basis of age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, religion, or any other status are included in nature-based solutions and benefits, and that they can achieve their full potential in life. GEDSI is considered key to achieving sustainable development goals and economic development. What is a GEDSI analysis? Well, it's an analysis that helps us understand how the social dimensions, specifically gender, disability, and social inclusion, impact nature-based solutions. Why do a GEDSI analysis? Well, gender, social, and cultural norms and power relations influence individuals' ability to access resources and services, participate, be involved in decision-making, to grab opportunities, and it affects their overall well-being. Conducting a GEDSI analysis will help nature-based solutions practitioners to consider these dynamics when designing projects to ensure that they are gender and disability responsive and socially inclusive. A good GEDSI analysis considers the social inequalities in the broader society. It should consider, for example, the unequal division of labor and benefits, meaning who is doing what work, for example, inside or outside the home, and who is ultimately benefiting from nature-based solutions. It considers the unequal access to natural resources and capital, and has us think about who is being disadvantaged and left out. A good GEDSI analysis considers the unequal participation in decision-making, meaning whose voice and opinions or ideas are missing or not being heard. And it also helps us consider what is the restricted access to opportunities, meaning are there some barriers different groups are facing that is stopping them access, for example, capacity building opportunities, or accessing nature-based solutions directly. Good GEDSI analysis can help understand what are the roles of women and men of all diversities in communities and the different ways they use natural resources and the impacts of their activities on natural habitats and ecosystems. A good GEDSI analysis can help understand how social interactions, including the relations between women and men, and the social rules and hierarchies, affect people's roles in communities and their opportunities and benefits they gain from nature and nature-based solutions. A good GEDSI analysis can help understand how different people benefit from nature. Do they rely on nature for income, for food, or for cultural practice? And how do different people benefit from nature-based solutions, and in particular, the nature-based solutions you are proposing to do in partnership with your local communities? It's also important to consider when to do a GEDSI analysis. And ideally, a GEDSI analysis should be conducted at the very beginning of a project or program during what is often referred to as the planning phase. This is because the results from a GEDSI analysis should be used to help inform the design, the implementation, monitoring, evaluation, and learning during and after the project or program. There is no one single way to do a GEDSI analysis, so I'm going to give you an example to help you on your way. You could divide a GEDSI analysis into 4 steps. Step 1 is important. It's the design phase, and it's where you sit down and you think about what are the objectives of your GEDSI analysis. What is the information that you're after? What do you need to design a good project? If you don't have gender expertise, for example, or GEDSI expertise, you may want to consider inviting an expert in to help you. Once you know what the objective is of your GEDSI analysis, you will want to have a look at what available information there is already. So you might want to do a desktop review to see what reports and publications are already out there. You might want to see whether you or another organization has data already available that's been collected that is very useful to start your GEDSI analysis. Once you've reviewed that data and reviewed those reports that have been produced, you can then better understand what are the gaps. You can then design a collection process. So going out and collecting some primary data to help fill those important gaps. So you can do that by designing a number of different surveys, which we'll talk about in a moment. Once you've collected the data, it is important that you analyze the data correctly. And you analyze the data through a GEDSI lens. This may involve, for example, disaggregating the data so that you can see the differences, for example, between the way men and women are responding to particular questions. And you're going to want to report on that and think about the implications of that for your project. This slide provides some examples of how you might go about collecting primary data for a GEDSI analysis. It shows 2 different ways of implementing a socioeconomic survey designed to understand the GEDSI issues and considerations at your site. The first way is to do a focus group discussion, where you're bringing a group of people together, for example, a community, to ask questions about their collective perceptions, attitudes, beliefs, opinions, or ideas. A second way is to do a key informant interview, and this is done with individuals who are considered very knowledgeable about their site, who have good insights into their community. And the purpose of doing key informant interviews is to collect information from a wide range of people, including, for example, community leaders, professionals, or residents who have first-hand knowledge about the community. And now comes the hard part, designing the questions for your GEDSI analysis and making sure those questions help you answer your objectives. The good news is that we have developed a toolkit, and at the back of that toolkit are some example questions for you to consider. And those questions are framed around 3 main areas that come from this framework that was developed by CARE International. And the questions focus around thinking about what does it take to build individual capacity? What are the relationships that exist between people? And how do we work with them to foster fairness and equity between different people? And then the third thing focuses on structures. What are the discriminatory social norms or customs and values that we might need to think about changing or influencing to make sure that everybody fairly benefits from nature-based solutions? I would also like to share 2 potential tools that you could consider integrating into your GEDSI analysis. The first is called a time use diary. And this is where you sit down with local communities, and you might sit down with different groups within local communities, for example, separating the men out from the women. And then you ask each group to describe how they're spending their time over a 24-hour period. You really want to try and understand how individuals devote their time to different activities, whether it's paid work, unpaid work, how much time they're spending on social events, self-care activities, or on cultural practice. This is important because it helps us understand how people make decisions about time, what time they might have to be involved in your nature-based solutions project, and how any further use of their time might affect their well-being. Time use data also is important because it reveals how men and women might spend their time differently. So it helps us start to understand some of the gender norms and roles that might be occurring in your community. This slide provides examples of what kind of information you might get out of a time use survey. The top graphic comes from Fiji, where the Women in Fisheries Network did a survey that found that on average, fisherwomen in villages can spend up to 80 hours per week on domestic work, compared to men who spend about 47 hours. Compare this to Nauru, where taking care of the household or family was the main economic activity for about 29% of women and only 7% of men. And within the unpaid workforce in Tokelau, you can see a real difference between men and women and how much time they're spending on the care of their children in their own household and in other households. The second tool I would like to share is what is called the floating coconut, where you try and unmask the different hidden roles that men, women, youth, and other social groups are playing in their community. In the floating coconut, you work with communities to try and identify either the formal work or paid work that they're doing and spending time on, as well as all the other activities or unpaid and care duty work they are doing. You can do this by separating out different groups so that you can see what the differences are between men and women, or you could see the differences between youth and adults. Floating coconut is a useful way of also understanding how people are spending their time and the different types of activities they're doing. It also can give you insights into the different types of livelihoods people are investing in, and also the way they are supporting each other and work with each other within a community. So once you've done your GEDSI analysis, what do you actually do with the findings? Well, the main thing is that it can really help you design and implement your nature-based solutions by really considering the GEDSI considerations that influence your communities. You can use it to actually develop a GEDSI action plan so you can identify and have specific interventions that you want to do. You can also use the results to inform a risk assessment, to think about what sort of risk your nature-based solutions projects might have for different people and different groups in your community. A GEDSI analysis can be used to provide information that's useful for your environmental and social impact assessment, and also be used to develop your environmental and social safeguards management plan. Lastly, a GEDSI analysis could be used to help develop indicators to help you monitor and evaluate your project from beginning to end. I hope this presentation has given you a good introduction to how to conduct a gender equity, disability, and social inclusion analysis for nature-based solutions. As I mentioned in the beginning, there is a toolkit that is available on the Kiwa and SPREP websites that's free to download. In that toolkit, there is more background and information on how to conduct a GEDSI analysis, and you'll find that useful checklist at the back with questions that you can consider integrating into your GEDSI analysis. Throughout the year, we also hope to have some seminars with practitioners so you can learn about how others have been doing GEDSI analyses.